tonight's regularly scheduled select board meeting. I'm Flo Smith. To my left is Vince Conti, Joe Staub, Carla Nuiza.
Recording in progress.
I'll start over so that it's
That's
on the
all right.
recording.
They've got it anyway.
Okay,
so.
wonderful. And Carla Nuizel and Tor Nelson, and I'm Flo Smith. And we are going to move into the Select Board Annual Organization, where we vote in a chair, vice chair, and secretary. And I'll start with nominations for chair.
I'll nominate Joe Staub.
I don't know how this works. Is it still like a second?
I think it has to be seconded, right?
I think so, yeah.
Mhm.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, or any other nominations, I should say, first, in case anyone else is nominated. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Want to move over?
Well, I don't know if you even asked if I wanted it.
Tough.
Didn't know that was an
That
option.
wasn't, I was gonna say,
You don't have to if you don't want to. At this, I mean,
Yeah.
switch at this point.
What's your preference?
But I think Flo wants to go through your pockets looking for loose change, just saying.
It's okay.
wow.
I took the lollipops out.
Oh, I brought my candy stash. I thought I was gonna need it today.
Congratulations,
Maybe-
Joe.
Maybe
So
you and Carl need to switch places if she's got.
I'll let you take the meeting from here, Joe.
Oh, okay, so vice chair, looking for nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Flo Smith.
I second it.
I would not nominate Carla Nuizel, but I guess we don't have a second. So if there's no more nominations from the floor, all in favor of Flo Smith, vice chair, say aye.
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 Opposed? Secretary, nominations from the floor.
Nominate Carla Nuiso.
What does the secretary do?
Nothing.
That's not true.
No, that's not true. You would run the meeting if the chair or vice chair were not present, as well as assist with various things such as the town report and other things, you know, as needed.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Carla Nuizel as secretary, say aye.
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 Additions, changes to the agenda, any?
A lot. I'd like to add tax sale evaluation for Moyer. I'd like to remove.
What was that? Tech eval?
Tax sale.
Tax sale.
Tax sale.
On Moyer. Remove the reserve funds policy adoption and remove the 2 right-of-way permits.
Okay.
And the tax sale, where are we gonna put that?
Underneath the personal policy right before warrants.
All right, so, any public comments? Anything in the chat? Can you
No.
see? No? All right, special events permit?
Okay, on your packet, the annual application for Central Vermont Runners for their 47th annual Capital City Stampede 10K road race on June 7th, 2025. From 7 a.m. to about noon time, 120 people expected. Running from Montpelier out along Junction Road and 3 Mile Bridge Road. Everything looks to be in order with the application. No response from any concerns from the police department. The fire chief did
Signage.
ask for signage to be along the road, so I think that should be a condition of our approval. And to waive the application fee.
Any other discussion?
No, I'll move to approve.
With the following conditions of signage on the roadway
Oh, yeah, with the.
And the fee waiver.
and the fee waiver as well.
And I'll second with those additions.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 The Central Vermont Solid Waste Management District Board appointments.
So Peg Monley has served as our board member for the past year, and Matt Levin as the alternate. This is a yearly appointment we need to make, and they were both enthusiastic about serving in another year in those terms, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second that and thank them for their service.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
On the 2 right-of-way permits, there's a couple questions on both of those. Tim was gonna meet with them today, but with the culvert washout and stuff, they had to postpone that, don't have it rescheduled yet, so. I don't think it's anything that
Okay, so we'll see that.
would be a
on the-
deal breaker or anything, but it'll be at the next meeting.
Okay. Policy approval, grant management.
So this was a policy distributed at the last meeting of just a few minor changes made to it. Reminder, this came out of from the Berry City's policy. Really the only change that wasn't a spelling change was under grant roles and responsibilities, but the middle of the second page, very last sentence, it was changed, which is used to recognize grant expenditures in the change to corresponding grant fund as opposed to budget category. We're looking to move all the grants into a separate fund in NEMRIC to keep them out of the general fund revenues or reports. And with that, I recommend adoption.
Is there a second?
Second that?
Discussion. I know we've been using NEMRIC for a long time and probably will continue. Is it really, could we use different verbiage in there and not necessarily calling out NEMRIC, just in case tomorrow we change it? Or, should we?
These are easy enough to change. If we ever go away from NEMRIC, can make that change at that point.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 ordinance revision review, alarm ordinance.
So this is something we talked about the last meeting, but Joe, of course, you weren't here. This is a update to the alarm ordinance, providing for the ability of the town to send invoices for these violations as opposed to just being required to go through the judicial bureau, shortening the process and giving the town more money for this. That's really the only change I'm looking to make with this ordinance. Carla's looking at some verbiage, and then she thought she might have some other ideas of stuff you might wanna look at in it.
I'll share these with you via email, these
Okay.
other ones, cause there might, and I'll point out the things I thought, well, you can look through them, but there's a couple things I thought you might wanna add. That was, and then and it's just a matter of sort of rewording the enforcement piece to be the police instead of the judicial bureau. I think we can take them kinda right out of it.
Well, I think we wanna have the.
Well, no, you still have the option of bringing a case, but
Right.
if they don't pay but I'll follow these other ones that they have it's like a two-step, but it's worded a little differently.
Okay,
than
that's
just-
what I'm looking to do,
yeah,
is to have a
yeah,
two-step.
yeah, so
And the
that's
first
what-
step would be the invoicing.
So I'll I'll put some red lines in and send it to you all,
Okay.
and then you can weigh in on whether you wanna, well, everybody can weigh in, I'll send it to everybody on whether they wanna add any other provisions.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And I'm looking for this to be effective on July 1st.
Yep,
And in order to do that, our public hearing will need to be April 21st, I think is the second meeting in April.
I'll make
So
sure.
we've got 2 meetings.
Yeah, and I'll make sure you
Before we
have
have
that
to do
this
that.
weekend, the new information.
Okay, thank you. And then the draft ordinance review, emergency service reimbursement ordinance.
So Vince can probably explain this more than I can. This was something I found on his laptop. And I know, Joe, you've asked about it a couple times, and
Uh-huh.
trying to bring it back to life,
Yeah, that's,
if we even want to pursue this.
I think that was,
Direction, I think.
that was the question, right? It came up earlier, way back when, and then, so I put something together. That's why it was still on the laptop, in case we wanted to resurrect it and talk about it. That was where it started from.
So,
So, is it anything we wanna consider at this point is the question, I think. And-
Correct. And Joe, and I guess the fire chief, would you like to add any more background on this?
so there are some communities that do this, okay? And it can be a hot topic. There's a lot of paperwork that's gonna have to be done to make this work. I feel we start out in the purpose, it talks about the fire department, assisted by the Berlin Highway or PD. So some of this also could fall under PD, and we kind of like lose them in the process. I noticed that. There are some alarms in town, which is a burglar alarm type thing. So do you want to bring that into this as well? It looks like it kind of alludes to that.
Wouldn't that be under this one?
Well, and so I haven't read that.
Okay, the private alarm, oh, that's right, because you weren't here.
You're
I think
right.
that would be under the private alarms ordinance, wouldn't it?
I think that portion, since we have a separate one, would be considered separate from this one.
Okay,
Only because we have a separate ordinance. If we wanted to put it in here and get rid of that one, then
can you do it with one? can it be, or should it be?
Well, I think one of the early versions of this, I think it did have, well, it kind of alluded to alarms in there as well.
I think the answer to your question is
But-
yes, we would have to revise this one to incorporate that one, the private alarm one. It could be.
Yeah,
Why couldn't it? I can't think of any reason why it couldn't be included.
you know, there was a place in here where it talks about who's doing the invoicing. And it got, invoices shall be issued by the fire chief, using the services of the town Berlin Finance Department. That's kind of really funny wording, but anyway, that was crossed out. We don't, I'm gonna say July 1st, we're not gonna have an accounting. It's gonna be all being done here. So I guess I'm just kinda confused there.
Can I
Well,
just-
this,
oh, go ahead.
there has been no change to this wording since it was developed 2 or 3 years ago. So any
Yeah.
updates from the fire department, merger and everything are not reflected in there. And
Okay.
will need to be, and definitely will need to be addressed in
Okay.
future versions of this.
And kind of throughout, it says Berlin Fire Department, and only in 2 cases does it really say Berlin Volunteer Fire Department. So just for continuity, we should just like pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a fundamental question?
Sure.
So the eligible occurrences, are there a lot of them? So malicious incidents, nuisance incidents, I mean, obviously motor vehicle accidents, hazardous material incidents. I'm just wondering,
Is there a lot of them?
I mean, do you feel there's a need for this? I mean, that's the fundamental question I have.
I think there's a purpose for each part of that, as far as like the alarms. It's not about, I think, invoicing and collecting revenue. I think it's about forcing someone's hand to do maintenance or something to their system. So, you know,
So
unfortunately,
that's, so you think this one's needed, which I think we're going there. I'm just question, and I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question because if we, I mean, obviously the reason to do this would be if there's a need for it, right? Or if, I mean, I do think, you know, non-permitted burns, that's, you know, there's things on here that could lead to responses that would be unnecessary and if things were done according to
right.
rules, but I'm just curious from your perspective, if, you know, as we're saying, do we wanna do this now, or is this something that we put aside?
I feel if we can incorporate the 2, we do it, and we kind of take,
Okay.
but we would have to have this, we don't have to do anything. Anyway, doesn't have to be enacted on for July 1st.
No.
We've been this long.
Yeah, I got a follow-up question to Carla's, I guess, in line with what she just asked as well. Do we have, 'cause again, just going back, I can't remember where we had a lot of these A through H incidences, right? Do we have any data to support, right, having this? I think is kind of another
Yeah.
way to ask the same question, right? I mean, how many of each of these have we actually seen in the last 2 or 3 years that would,
So your nuisance alarms, your motor vehicle accidents, those are probably the 2 that would stand out amongst all of them.
right?
You know, I don't know if, in defining your special event, they're doing a standpipe test over at Fox Run. Okay, and so received notice probably about 18 hours before they were gonna do it. For us to maybe go and witness if that's what we wanted to do, to find out, no, now they want a truck, so now we're gonna reschedule. And so, let's just think about this a year down the road. Are we gonna be going out with the town equipment to provide a service such as that, just free of charge.
Which I think
Does that
that's
fall-
something, I think that's something to consider adding,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I don't know, test and inspection, something like
Yeah.
that.
you know. So I told them they had to give me a week, and I have the crew to do it. But right now, it's all voluntary. And it's our equipment, so we can do that. But a year from today, do you want that happening with your equipment? Just a thought.
Well, I would recommend doing a similar thing, cause when I was Googling this, I came up with some of these too. And I
Yeah.
didn't look at them because I was more focused on this, but there may be one, I mean, we don't need to recreate the wheel. Maybe one that's combined, or maybe, and I'm willing to look and see what's out there and share that as well this weekend. Or by this weekend, so you guys can look at them and we can consider it. Consider whether we wanna just do this standalone or we wanna combine.
Right. Sure.
Kind of in favor
makes
of
sense.
combining, actually,
Yeah,
right, because this refers to alarms in
Yeah.
a few places,
yeah.
in here as well.
And I know there was
We
several,
can
like I
manage it
said,
under one
several of
ordinance
these
instead of two.
policies popped up when I Googled this, the alarm policy. So I can, there may be very well be one already out there that has both, or does both, that we could adapt.
Okay, so we'll move on. And personnel policy update?
So I put this on basically for Vince's benefit, we're looking at some updates to the personnel policy.
Did that just for me too,
That'll
thank you.
be, well, it'll be effective for you when you come back, just saying. So section 306, we're looking to basically hold the employees to their assigned shift schedule, that they're not making up their own schedules anymore, and working excessive amounts of overtime. Uh, 308, updating that to reflect only highway and public works employees are eligible for the boots, and update that to $300 per year for boots. 401 holidays, looking to add Martin Luther King Memorial Day. And also to restrict that you can only, you have to take the holiday on its day, or it's in lieu of day. You can't bank holidays for extending your vacation or things like that. Vacation, we're looking at major changes here with the accrual. They don't really line up now with, they're not consistent between the years, and the first year doesn't make sense at all. I put the rate of 4 hours per pay period to a maximum of 40 hours, which is only 10 pay periods, and no time may be utilized before an employee has completed 6 months of employment. So right then you can't use any, you're losing vacation time and you can't even use it yet. And then, clarify the accrual that, to be consistent, how we do it, if it's per year, per pay period, et cetera. Return to work, did you do all that stuff, Vince, or was that Dana before you left? Cause that's new to the policy since I
Yeah, we
left.
revised it once,
Okay,
I think, when I was there, yeah.
so I'm not really looking for any changes of that.
I don't remember what the specifics were, but I know we did it once.
And two things I really wanna look at, don't have any language yet, is restricting work from home. I don't wanna totally eliminate it, but really wanna restrict, it's gonna have to be approved in advance. I would say by the whole select board. And there's some other things we wanna have in place to cover us for workers' comp and things like that.
I looked for language in other policies and I didn't find it. So I didn't look at every town.
Oh, yeah, I didn't either, but I was gonna see if I could find what we had at my old job. The last thing I wanna put in here is, and Joe and I have talked about this briefly, is allowing for volunteer fire department members to respond to calls, during a regular shift. The question kind of I had, did we want to restrict that to Berlin Volunteer Fire Department, or make it for all surrounding departments? Because we have one employee who is a member of the
Right.
Northfield Fire Department and had to respond to a call in Northfield a couple weeks ago, I guess. But could this be a recruiting thing for the fire department as well?
Well,
Or
I-
just- never mind.
Yeah. I feel restricting it to just Berlin is not the right message.
I
Okay.
agree. If we do it, we should do it.
You know,
for-
we should support the volunteers regardless. You know, I gotta think of what the verbiage is for my contract. It's, it's for fire calls and not meetings, of course, or trainings, it's for calls. And, and if you are in a reasonable distance or I shouldn't, because you're just the town next door. But then it comes down to, the supervisor allowing that to happen as well.
Mhm.
And it depends on the task of which they're doing, right? But I think we extend it to fire departments
Okay.
or emergency services, how about that? The only thing I guess I would add to that is what the town needs to consider, in that one case, is there's a town vehicle involved being used to respond. So now that's kind of a little different. You're
Right.
allowing them to go, but are you gonna allow them to use the town vehicle to go? And if something happens, that's the only thing I'm saying, is
Right.
if something happens in the response,
Yeah, is that covered under insurance?
Right.
That's what we need to know.
I think that would be the question.
Okay. So that's the direction we were heading with this, Vince, and,
Okay,
I know you haven't thought about this for 2 years,
I
but give
know.
you a chance to get reacquainted with it
yeah,
and hear the changes you were thinking of, before you left. Of course, we're gonna have to make some changes to it with the fire department coming on board anyway.
anyway,
But,
yeah, I'll go through it in a little more depth and see if I can find
okay, cool.
what I had from the other one as well. I'll send out anything I have.
And I don't think I sent them to you, Vince, but I sent some other ones I saw out. And looked see if there's anything, and one was like Middlesex, and, so, of course, there's anything in there that you think we should add, or
Yeah.
use their language or whatever.
So what have we got for a deadline, or not a deadline, a date of which we would like these to be done?
I don't have a set deadline.
Okay, we're
I
just
mean,
gonna work through
I
it.
think the end of April is, at the earliest, I think would be
Okay.
reasonable, if not end of May.
Okay. Anything more on the personnel policies?
Unless somebody else has anything.
I don't.
Okay, moving on to approval of the warrants.
Nope, text up.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Tax sale.
So we have one tax sale coming up, and I put this in your packet, the tax sale policy. It is,
It's a more, only 12.
yeah, 0.3 acres at 4509 Route 12, which is the Moyer property.
So that whole buyout thing finally just fell through.
Correct. And the tax sale was this Wednesday at 10 a.m. So Vermont statute allows the select boards to enter a bid on tax sale properties. Basically, if we were to do this, it would give us potentially greater flexibility, once the property becomes ours, to either fix it up or sell it or whatever. The minimum acceptable bid is $34,166.36. Based upon several years of past due taxes, interest and penalties, and the accumulated legal fees at this point. It'd be my recommendation the town does not enter a bid on this.
Okay.
But
Is it agreed?
formality, we need to bring this to you so we can make an informed decision if we want to or not. So I'll make the motion that we do not enter a bid.
And I'll second that.
And there's several more coming up in the future, so, I'll say several, but some more coming up.
Any more discussion on this? I have a question. Has the town ever gone put a bid in? That we know of?
As our town, not that I know of.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know
I
if
don't think
other
so.
towns
I don't
have or
believe so.
not, but, I mean, at least as long as I've been on the
Not
select
that
board,
I'm
it
aware.
hasn't.
In the years that I've been on, I'm not aware of ever.
Okay. So all in favor and not putting in a bid, say aye.
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 Opposed? And now approval of warrants and minutes.
Does anybody else want to read it? Would you
We
like
should make
to,
the new
Ben?
guy.
I'll read it. I think I can still read. I'll give it a try.
I'm sure we all can.
Payroll warrant 2518 for payroll from February 23rd, 2025 to March 8th, 2025 to be paid on March 12th, 2025 in the amount of $70,703.70. Payable warrant 25G18 with check number 24774 to 24836 in the amount of $156,176.36. General journal entries for February. And Berlin Volunteer Fire Department Selectmen's orders for January 2025.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes. March
One
3rd.
set from March 3rd.
I don't think I can vote on this one, right? I was not on it.
Kind of keep changing every year if you can or can't.
Yeah, I know, it changes all. I never can remember.
I make the motion to approve the regular select board meeting minutes of Monday, March 3rd, 2025, and there was just one change that I saw, maybe others have others, but under municipal fire chief, just after Joe's name as instead of and.
Is there a second?
Second?
Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roundtable. Carla, I'll give you the last.
No, I'm good. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Tor?
I'd like to welcome Vince to the board.
Thank you.
Ditto.
And,
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
and Vince?
I'm lost for words, Joe. It's the first time sitting here, so
All right.
hopefully I won't cause you a problem.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm good as well. Is there executive session?
Yes, I'd like to move to enter into executive session for personnel under 1 VSA 313A3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Where's that case? Oh, sorry, aye.